Yep. You want a bit more?
Yeah, we'll go a bit more. How are you, Dave?
All right. Great to be here, Steve.
It's as I was talking to you off air, Telstra as well. They've just not been given a good service for us, and a lot of Australians are complaining about them too.
Uh,
How have you found your story with Telstra?
I got to be honest. I haven't had any problems with Telstra for a while.
Mm,
Um, I upgraded to the NBN rather reluctantly,
mm,
I must say. But it's been faster and smoother for me. Having said that, I know that it's a big company, and things can go wrong, and it can take a while to work through the bureaucracy of it.
mm.
Um, the trick is, as an ex IT guy from decades ago, don't be angry at the guy trying to fix it.
Mm.
That won't hurt. That won't help. You can
Could
certainly tell. You can certainly tell him that these has been the frustrations.
I They give like a couple of cables. I'll show you. I took out
Yep.
the old cable and I replaced it. One of these.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Yep.
That still hasn't done the trick. Like yesterday morning, my NBN was working beautiful, but then it just shut itself. I've had three broadbands replaced.
Oh wow.
The broadband with the blue
Yeah. Yeah.
light.
Yeah. 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 The modem or the
Yeah.
router. Yeah.
So because it's with my grandma, we've got to think, should we change providers maybe?
It might be the option. I mean, the thing is too is that often when you change providers, they're only giving you the retail. It's still on the same network, but
Mm,
I have heard that it becomes more reliable. Um, so I would go through the proper channels
mm,
and ask ask them what's going on, and let the guy do his job today, or the
mm.
girl, but I'm assuming it's a guy. Um, you know,
Like
whomever it is.
Telstra tried to get me grandma to pay the bill as an email, but she doesn't use email. We get our bills sent in the mail
Yep,
and
yep,
pay them at the post office. I do it too with my Vodafone because I'm old school and that's how I like
yeah.
to pay my bill. But they did it without our permission.
It's yeah. I I'd talk to them about that too,
It did.
because yeah, good, and hopefully that's sorted out.
Mm. What about you? Do you pay your bill at the post office, or you direct debiting, or doing it on your
Um,
app?
Usually I pay on the app. Um, um, and I get the email bill,
Mm,
and I pay on the app. And I got to say, even though it says it can take 3 days, it's usually cleared up very quickly.
mm.
Um, and yeah,
The
I'll, I'll,
trouble
I'll leave
is,
it.
our electricity company, Sol Origin, decided to just stop sending the electricity bill in the mail and was sending these text messages to grandma's phone. And she's thinking, who's this? How do I know this is not spam?
I always pay if anyone texts me to ask for money. I always pay it because it's the best practice, because you
You
never
do it?
know.
I don't. I don't.
Yep.
I don't
There's
trust
a
those links.
Nigerian prince who owes me $20 million. I'm trying to chase that up through the courts. I'm sure that'll sort out for the best. I've spent the money, so it better come through soon.
No, but the point I'm trying to say is, to me, if I don't care if it's from any company, if they're sending me a
Yeah,
link telling me to pay, I don't know who you are.
yeah. You've got to be really careful with links.
So
I
she
don't think.
rang, she rang Soul Origin, and the bill was late. We paid it, but she
Yeah,
said, "Look, send it in the mail as a
yeah,
paper or change
yeah.
providers." I know that they're trying to save paper and all that, but uh, if companies don't want you to pay as paper, tell them to get lost.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we tend to forget is that not everybody has email, not everybody has internet, and the older generation, say over 65,
Mm.
and I might be wrong. It might be over 70. It might be over 75, somewhere around there. You get a lot less take up of internet at home. My father doesn't have a computer, doesn't have doesn't have a mobile phone, hates them, won't use them.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. um, so he gets all these checks, all these bills in the mail. Um, and when I go out, we go through and make sure he's paid them all. He usually has, but sometimes he's yeah. I'll stop there
Because
because
when
we're
you
getting
go,
into stuff.
no, it's fine, Dave. When you go to the post office, they put a receipt and it's recorded.
Yeah,
And that's what I like. I'm old school.
yeah. I like going. I like paying in cash and going to the post office. Or I like going to a shop. Actually, I used to be able to go to the Telstra shop and pay your bill.
Gone are those days.
Yeah.
Because if the telcos are sending it as an email, then it's like, I don't know who you are. So I stopped that. I tried it in the beginning, and yes, it's cheaper because you're not paying for the postage and handling. But
they're saving hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I don't like that. And direct debit, I hate direct debit too.
I
hate
love it how you look at your account and you go, oh, I've got this much. And then you go the next day and suddenly you don't have that because direct debits happened. But that's more about being organized, I guess.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
I've only ever done that with Plus Fitness with my gym membership because they'll tell you, okay, we're going to direct debit on the Thursday every fortnight at this time. So I know, okay, but I don't like the telecom companies trying to talk me into it or the banks.
Yeah. If you've got a problem with the bill, like, and that happens on occasion, they overcharge you or they undercharge you. With the gym, it's the same amount every week, unless you break something. But with the phone bill, it can be different for many reasons. And but we live in that world. I think we should talk about though you got first prize in that songwriting competition.
Yes. It came. I've even done a YouTube unboxing of it on my channel.
Cool. Yes, I saw that.
I wanted the 10 grand instead, but they wouldn't give it to me. No, it was good. It was one of my best achievements, for the first single, Death and Life.
Yeah.
That's what it made.
Fantastic.
For 2020. So that came in the mail. I was very, very happy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. How's the single been going since then? Did you get more listens or?
Not really, because I don't have much of a following on Spotify. It's very difficult unless I've got to pay to market the thing. But it's been word of mouth.
Yep.
You can see I'm old generation. Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Your friend tells their friends, tells your friends, tell me, as Taylor Swift said.
Yeah, and I think the old-fashioned way of marketing is better than any digital marketing, in my opinion, in the long term.
If you get the right people doing it, digital marketing is fantastic. But there's a skill to it, I think.
It's expensive too.
Yeah, cheaper than a television ad.
That's it. But my journey, I haven't had much paid work, so that's been the struggle for me. My company, but I'm on a I'm on a disability pension anyway that supports my income. So
that's good, and cash flow is the lifeblood of any company.
Mm.
You know, a lot of companies that are asset rich, but you need to get the cash in so you can send it out, and hopefully get a little bit more in than you do out.
Mm.
And at this point, you know, for you, it's just uh, you keep working. You know, keep your eyes on the prize, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your hand on the stand. You know,
Mm.
whatever you'd like to call it. Um, where most companies fail, I think, and 90% of companies fail in the first year.
Mm.
Where most companies fail is that they just don't get enough money. And a lot of companies, like a company like yours, which is an ideas company, it's one thing for, you know, a cafe or a factory, you know, where cash and regular large amount of cash is vital to be able to produce the goods and or services. Um, Whereas, you know, an ideas company doesn't
Mm.
cost you anything to come up with ideas. You know, you can keep producing your goods and or service.
The only thing that does cost is if I'm distributing to CD Baby and
Yep,
my GoDaddy website. I pay about what $300 a year. That comes
yep,
with the business email, but I'll be downgrading. That's it,
yep, yep. Yeah.
and the
And
domain
that's
name. That's it.
and the trick here is to just keep focused and, you know, earn where you can.
Mm.
You know, you get a job, or, you know, I don't know if they'll up your pension. I highly doubt they'll do that, but, you know, miracles do happen.
Mm.
Um, but, you know, earn where you can, keep plugging away. You know, success is 90% hanging on,
Mm.
1% a great idea, 10%, sorry, 9% really hard work, and
Mm.
90% just holding on. Um,
See, I was trying to do some basic bookkeep. You know what bookkeeping is, like
I've heard of the
stuff.
concept.
But
Yep.
when I was doing it and adding up all my expenses, and I put roughly about 5 grand into the company, it was just throwing me off my work, man. So I just
Yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
you
No.
you done bookkeeping as a sole trader after a
Oh,
gig?
yeah.
You
Uh,
keep track of all your spending.
yes. Uh, you have to, you
Mm.
know, every bit of equipment I buy has to pay for itself.
Mm.
You know, people say, "Oh, you don't have that many instruments relative to other people." And it's because I don't have the luxury of being able to think, should I take the, you know, the Les Paul or the 335 or the Stratocaster?
Mm.
And I've got 4 working guitars, 2 work, and when I say working, I mean that I can use at a professional. 4 working guitars, 4 2 basses, uh, 3 or 4 mandolins. Um, what else do I, and a banjo.
Mm.
After then, um, you know, and then if I buy effects pedals, it's because I need them for a specific reason, and that I can use them
Mm.
elsewhere. So, you know, I don't have a lot of boutique and expensive. You know, I have one professional standard amp and a couple of practice amps that I use for teaching, because it's easier that way, rather than lugging my amp around. Um, you know, everything I purchase has to earn money. A lot of my hobbies I've monetized. So, uh, you know, one of the things I love is crime fiction. And so I will write on the subject of crime fiction, or I'll lecture on the subject of crime fiction when
Mm.
people are prepared to pay. Um, and, you know, I still don't earn enough cash, but at least I'm earning something,
Mm.
you know. Um,
It's a nightmare because I've spoken to some small business owners, and when you have to pay the GST and the tax, the government want it now, but yet
Yeah.
they're slow. They're slow to pay you. You see,
they're,
and
slow to, they're slow to pay, quick to get. To be fair, you can, like, if you get a big bill. A couple of years back, I got several $1,000 tax bill,
shit.
and I rang them and said, "How do you expect me to pay this?" I didn't say it like that. I put a lot more swearing in. No, I didn't. No, I just said, "Look, I don't have the money to pay this. What can I do?" And we came up with a payment plan.
Yeah.
And as long as you stick to that, more or less, most big companies in particular will try and help.
Was this the ATO?
This was the ATO, yep.
So, because you're a sole trader, what they just at the end of the financial year send you the tax bill? Or
I had to do I did a tax return, and
fuck.
And yeah, I'd done better than I thought.
Did you go through an accountant or do it yourself?
No, I go to an accountant. I just
Yeah.
ITP. I found them fine.
See,
Yeah.
if your business is running at a loss, then you can't pay tax. How can
No,
you?
exactly.
So
Yeah, and you shouldn't either. And
no,
in that particular year, I'd done quite well.
But did you claim anything back, like all your expenses?
I keep every single receipt.
Yeah.
I keep a logbook for car travel. And it's a hassle, but you just tell them what type of car you've got. And then, if I've got a gig in Campbelltown, down Shiels Town Way, I put in, it's 30 kilometers or whatever it is from my house, and just hand that over. And the tax have a formula, and that goes off your income.
Yeah.
As I said, if I buy strings, if I buy teaching materials, because I'm a teacher, because of things like I use things like Apple Music all the time, because people say, "I want to learn how to play this song." Okay, so I deduct a proportion of my Apple Music, 10 or 15% or something, to and internet, a proportion of my internet.
What about your phone bill?
Yep, proportion. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
It's a nightmare, mate.
Yeah. It's worth doing the extra effort, though, and I say this to everyone listening. It's worth the extra effort. One, you don't want to be in trouble with tax. That's what they throw rich people in jail for, so it must be serious. And and we have a responsibility to pay a little bit of tax.
See,
we use the services. We use the services, and we should be prepared to pay a bit. And if we pay too much and we get a refund, that's great.
See, I had a meeting with an accountant, but because I'm not making a great deal of money, the stuff I've purchased years ago is going to be way too hard to claim all that back. Because at the moment, Shiels Productions is a hobby until I start making decent money. So
I suppose I should stop embezzling from your account. That might help. No, I'm joking.
That's just what I'm finding. But see, they're going to charge $90 a month to do all that for you, all your bookkeeping.
If that's not bad, if you're earning, that's not a bad price at all.
No, it's not. They know what they're doing, and they understand all the arts industry. You need someone who understands music and all that.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of dodgy accountants, H&R Block. I did my first tax return. Oh God. And there was one in Campbelltown. He couldn't put my tax file number in. I just do it through MyGov.
Yeah. But, and look, if you're not earning a great deal, and it's not too complicated. MyGov's, a great way of a great way. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's been my experience.
Yeah. Everyone's experience is similar. Not many people are happy to pay tax, and uh, especially as Kerry Packer said, he paid exactly what he owed. He didn't think he should pay any less, and given the way that they spent it, he didn't think he should pay any more either. Anyway,
But that's what I've done. But I just stopped doing bookkeeping, mate.
yeah. Anything that takes away from if you can get someone else to do the other work and the important work, bookkeeping is important. The administration is important. If you do that while you can, and the second you don't have to do that anymore because you can afford to pay someone else to do it, you jump on it, because again, keeping your eyes on the creative prize. When you
Exactly.
yeah,
It's
when
like
you're in a band or
spreadsheets. I hate them.
yeah, they're not fun software. It's not Minecraft.
Oh
It's
God.
not World of Warcraft.
But see, marketing for me, I've never enjoyed any social media marketing. I hate it. That's just my outtake of it. And the sales too is very difficult when you're a sole trader.
Yeah. I'm not a great salesman. I can't do the cold calling.
I've done cold calling. It's hasn't generated much, but at least I sent some of my work out. But
yeah, well done.
Hasn't generated into paid work. You see, I do a lot of cold emailing for the podcast. So I email agents overseas of celebrities. It's just a numbers game, but
yeah, and you send out you send out 1 million or 100,000 emails, and you get 100 responses. But those 100 responses are worth it. And again, patience, calm, focus, and self-belief.
Now, when you're going to do a gig and you go to talk to the manager and haggling how much you get for the gig, is that difficult for you? Or do you have an agent doing all your haggling for you?
I work through agents where I can, because one, I'm worth $50,000 a gig.
Good on ya.
But nobody seems to agree with that. So I start at 50,000, and they start at 0, and we I'm trying for somewhere in the middle. At the moment, it's much closer to the 0 end, but I just keep. No, I don't start at 50,000. It's based on what the market will bear, and the quality of stuff. I like to think that I give quality service, so I charge what I think is a fair price and what my agents think are fair prices. So of course, there hasn't been many gigs over the last 12 months, so they're starting to come back. May I plug my next gig? Yes. Club Ride on Thursday nights. The duo I'm in, Red Alert, with the remarkable Russell Hull, is hosting the open mic night. So if you're in the Ride area on Thursday nights from the 13th of May, and you feel like you want to come in and showcase some of your work or sing a cover in front of an audience or what have you, come in, sign up, and let's have some fun. Club Ride, 8 till 11 o'clock, Thursday nights from the 13th of May.
And what are you playing at Club Ride?
I'll be playing guitar.
What songs? What's on the set?
Well, whatever you like. It's an open mic night, so So Russell and I will probably do a couple, and our stuff is 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s rock, really. And we'll do a couple of songs and then open it up to whoever's in the audience. So
you're gonna play any Slayer? Rain and Blood? Are you gonna play that on this?
I don't like that soft stuff. I like the hard stuff. So
Lamb of
although
God.
to compromise to the crowd, we might do some Slayer. Yeah,
Get a mosh pit going.
Get a mosh pit.
Speaking of the mosh pits, did they get banned?
Yes. At the moment, there's no public dancing except at weddings, and then try and limit it to 20 people.
But what about before? Well, like, because Limp Bizkit used to have these huge mosh pits back in their prime, but people were getting hurt and all that.
I think the larger venues don't like the mosh pit.
Why is that?
Because of the risk of injury. It's a small risk, but anything fun has a risk of injury.
Remember crowd surfing?
Yes.
You don't like
again. Insurance companies look at that stuff and say, "Oh no."
Like, because you don't see that stuff going on anymore. Like you had the old Woodstock festivals, and people were lighting bonfires while the bands were playing. And Limp Bizkit, one of the bass players, would just play naked on stage.
Yes. I was in a band in which one of the guys would strip right off and play naked.
Yeah.
Thank God. But he stopped after we did the Newtown Festival, and we were right in front of the police station, and he got cold feet.
Yeah.
Literally, because he had no. But yeah, he thought no, and being the Newtown Festival, there was a lot of pressure for him to strip off, but he didn't. I didn't miss it, to be quite honest. I like clothes.
Yeah, but those are the old days of Woodstock.
Oh, just a clarification. I didn't start performing till decades after Woodstock. But yeah, Woodstock was a different thing. And in fact, Woodstock itself spun out of control. It was only meant to have 50,000 people, and 500,000 turned up.
Was that a free festival?
It wasn't supposed to be, but it turned into one because there were so many people. They just sort of climbed over the fences. So yes, it was essentially free, except for the first 50,000 who paid for tickets, and then after then, I went and saw the film at the Orpheum in Mosman a couple of months back, and the film does an excellent job in hiding what a terrible experience it must have been. There's mud and all other types of substances, and the sound is terrible. Half the shows aren't planned. There's weird interludes, but the movie looks and makes it look fantastic. It's funny how you can do that.
See, yeah, it was a crazy time, Woodstock. A lot of drug use too.
Yes, that was part of the experience.
So how come they never had security like they do now at music festivals back at Woodstock?
Well, they didn't need it, really. It was really the Altamont Festival, which the Rolling Stones put on, where they used the Hells Angels as security.
Shit.
And things went horribly wrong. The Hells Angels had been used before, but at the Rolling Stones concert, a young fellow was stabbed by the Hells Angels.
What?
They claimed that he had a gun. And if you look at the footage, you can sort of see, maybe perhaps that looks like a gun. But by the time he got close enough, he didn't have a gun. That was clear. So from there, all kinds of lunatics and nut jobs go to festivals, of course.
Even now, you
Um,
get all these electronic dance festivals and young people taking ecstasy and all that shit. How do they smuggle that stuff in there with all the cops hanging around? I don't get that.
I I don't know because I've never been into
Mm.
that scene. That
Oh,
scene.
you got like that DEF CON and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think the music is terrific, and I think the experience of hearing it at a festival is
Mm.
absolutely terrific. But because now I'm old too, so I turn up and it's hello, granddad. You here to pick someone up? But even when I was younger, I don't have enough personal experience to be able to comment. We'll
No,
put it that
fair
way.
enough. It's more
Yeah.
of a young generation thing. It's all electronic
Oh, for
stuff.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
I've
And
never been a fan of nightclubs as well. Been into a nightclub, but that thing just it's going to send you deaf after a while. Never enjoyed
yeah,
nightclubs.
I used to go fairly regularly because that's what you did before the internet.
Hmm.
But yeah, I certainly, as a non-drinker, non-drug taker,
Mm.
uh, I am a dancer. So that was so I used to dance, but um, you had to have someone agree to dance with you, and that didn't happen all the time. That's another story.
Good on you for asking.
Yeah, well,
Nah, it's called rejection. It's life.
tough cheeks now.
Now, like I was in a nightclub in Las Vegas, right? You could smoke cigarettes in there.
Yeah, the laws are different in the United States for all
So
kinds of philosophical and legal reasons.
I was
And
smoking cigarettes in the nightclub.
look, you wild thing.
But it was like 25 bucks. Well, it was expensive. We got it discounted for 25 bucks, but they're charging 10 bucks for a bottle of water. Not even
Where else?
600 mil.
Where else are you gonna buy it?
Mm.
You know?
And I went to the bathroom. You got this guy like, doing all your hair, and they want a tip. I was like, no, fuck off.
That's how they make their living. Again,
Yeah,
the United States, tipping's a vital part of the economy,
I hate it.
which it's not here, and that there's elements here who want it to be so they can cut wages, but
Oh,
um, yeah, and that's the trouble. It's not the service person's fault if no one goes to the cafe.
mm,
It's not the fault of the owner necessarily if no one goes to the cafe. It might be a raining day. It might be so your income shouldn't be dependent on a stream of income that might not be possible. And I know that they say, oh, if you give good service, you get better tips. Sure, but if there's no one to give service to, there's no tips to be had.
well,
So in Australia, we
yeah.
pay an award wage, which includes holiday leave and shift penalties or it should, and superannuation and
Mm.
all of that stuff.
The thing
Mm.
is, if the customers are broke, then how can they tip you?
Well, food in the States is a bit cheaper in restaurants because they're hoping that the wages will be
Mm,
what's the word, enhanced by the tipping.
mm,
And it's something I don't think we should bring in here. I think I'd rather pay a little bit more for food and make sure that the person serving me has insurance and has a livable wage and will go home that day having served me and maybe no one else that day, or me and 50,000 other people, or 500 other people,
mm.
and know that they're going to get X amount, um, regardless. I think that works out much fairer. than, oh, well, we'll pay you half and then you can make the rest up in tips. And then no one shows up for 2 days.
It's slavery.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You know,
Don't get me started.
I hate it, Dave. I hate it. I hate the tipping society.
Yeah. In the States, I when I'm in the States, I tip because you've got to. Y- it's just expected. You know, and calculating, how much do you owe
Mm.
is always fun.
The
But that's the way it
I'd
is.
rather the restaurant just put it on the bill.
Yeah. Some do. Some will put, gratuity, and then the total bill is such, and then it hopefully goes to
Yeah,
the
they
wait person.
look when I went on a cruise with the Royal Caribbean, they put the tip on the bill, and I was okay
Yeah.
with that. I
Yeah.
just hate it when they want to ask for more out of you. It gives me the shits.
Yeah. It's the world we live in,
Like
unfortunately. It's the world that some Americans live in, and it's hopefully the world that in Australia we won't live in. I'd rather,
even
as I said, I'd much rather see our wait staff get much better, get a minimum
mm,
a minimum livable amount that it covers holidays and shift penalties and all the stuff that uh, makes those types of jobs a little bit more bearable.
like even in Australia, if I go to a cafe and I get like some loose coins, I'll put it in the tip jar.
Sure, yeah, and yeah, paying a bit extra for good service, I think, should be isn't a bad thing. But it shouldn't be expected. You know, I'd much rather see our wait people get much better, better conditions, um,
Mm,
than have to struggle for a barely livable wage.
exactly, but that's just what it is. I mean, Canada's I think they're a tipping society too,
Yeah,
Canada, but
yeah. Apparently,
I would have thought Canadians earned more than the US in a
they
minimum
do,
wage.
they do, and you get free healthcare. There's, um, but they still. It's a North American thing, and I don't understand. I don't quite know why it developed in Canada either, but it did, and when you're there, you do it.
Mm.
You know,
Like I've heard from some Canadians, they say the healthcare system shit over there because it's free or that it's a long waiting time.
this is one of the issue. Of course, one of the things over there as here is that you have a very powerful vested interests who want private healthcare. So they cut the funding to the public system to
Mm,
try and encourage people to take up private healthcare. Um, of course, that assumes that everybody has the same money. I don't have to tell you that, not all of us have the same money as other people. And private health is expensive.
oh God, yeah.
Yeah. It it's it's one of those things that the market can't control. Like you buy a motor car, and you buy a little Kia because the price is right. You don't need a big car. You don't want to spend much on petrol. You want something reliable. So you pay, what are they, 20,000?
Mm,
I might be wrong. Then again, you might love cars. You might want the image of having a brand. So you buy a Lexus at 75,000
mm.
because you want that, and I'm this is not a disparagement of any car brand. They're all great cars. But, part of the Lexus is that you got to be able to afford it. You know, um, with healthcare, you might get sick, and I hope, obviously, I hope you don't. But you might get sick with a disease that's hugely expensive to fix,
Mm,
that requires a lot of medication, a lot of equipment, and a lot of expertise.
mm,
I might not get sick at all, but it's not fair for something that you really can't help,
mm.
that you then get hit for $50,000 or $60,000.
Yeah. Some
Um,
spinal surgery too. Like
yeah, yeah,
one specialist in Campbelltown tried to talk my granddad into getting spinal surgery for $30,000.
yeah. It should be on Medicare,
And
particularly if he needs it.
and
Now,
it
if it's
was
not urgent, and
mm,
this is what a lot of people complain about, um, there is a line to be drawn between what's necessary surgery and what's not so necessary. Now, I had a gallstones a few years back, and I was in pain for 6 months
shit.
while I waited for the my name to come up in the queue. But I was still able to function, and it wasn't as if it was a ruptured appendix, or even an appendix that was about to rupture, which, or a heart attack, or, there's, and so I would rather wait in line. And the people complaining about long wait times
Mm,
uh, are really complaining about two things. One, that, health is a conflicting and constant change of priorities depending on who's sick and who comes in. And, you get to hear on the list, but then someone who's sicker comes in. But the other thing too is funding.
mm.
We underfund health, because, again, they're trying to get people under the private system, even though I think the private system doesn't work anywhere near as well.
Yeah, a lot of people are walking away from the HCF and all the private health companies because I was shopping around for health insurance, but
Mm.
you're going to pay all this money a month, and how often are you going to use it? That's the
Well,
problem.
yeah, I mean, it's there if you need it, um, but, when they say things like, "Oh, you can pick your own specialist,"
Uh,
how many cardiothoracic how many cardiothoracic specialists do you? Well, I quite like Jim from up the road. He's pretty good. He's a nice fella. A lot of it's meaningless. And the standard of health in Australia is very, very high. Of course, there are dud doctors and dud specialists, but there's, 20, 200,000 or whatever it is, 100,000 doctors. So on the graph, you're going to get a few bad eggs. But the vast majority of doctors and health professionals in Australia work to extremely high standards,
mm.
um, and work very hard in support of the patient. And
S-
you can't ask for any more.
Well, there's things I'm not very happy with Campbelltown Hospital and a lot of the public hospitals. My grandma got sick in the pandemic last year, and the students kept asking them, "What's wrong? What happened? What happened?" It just drives you nuts. Like, you should get someone like a doctor who knows what they're doing, mate.
Um, a lot of the time they ask you again, so one, they know precisely, because it's very easy to mix patients up. If
Mm,
you had two older ladies, say, in with different things, and this has happened on rare occasions, you go in to have your appendix out and they amputate your leg. That's very rare, but it has happened.
oh shit.
Be, because the paperwork gets mixed up, so that they're continually asking, "Who are you? Why are you here? What's wrong?" So they know that, yes, this
Yeah.
is the lady who's got, you know, the problem with her ear. This isn't the lady with the gangrene in her leg, and I know that they can sort of look and see that, but again, some issues aren't, what's the word, aren't visible. And the other thing too is that they're making sure that you're okay. That if you can say who you are and why you're there, they can assume that your brain is working, that you haven't taken a turn for the worse.
Sometimes
it's frustrating. It's frustrating, I know, but it's to protect everybody, you know?
I
Yeah.
honestly feel that some of the public hospitals should get someone who knows what they're doing.
They mostly do. They mostly do have people. Again, Australian healthcare, despite the efforts of certain people in government, is amongst the highest care in the world. And you know, it's mostly due to funding cuts, understaffing, overwork, desperate. You know, they it's hard to get people to go to remote hospitals, so they shut them down, which doesn't solve the problem. Um, it's hard to get people in certain fields, and then other fields there are too many. You know, I think for paramedics they take in 400 people a year um, to train at the university, but there's only about 50 jobs a year. So it's 350 people who are qualified paramedics who won't get the job, not because they're bad, but there's just not the jobs to have. Now, okay, they can go into state, but you know, every state has the same issue.
Yep.
But great for Australia, and there's balances, get great experience over a high position, learn from there, open up, there's all kinds of advantages to that. But it seems to me that we have to move things away from the market model into something else, into a needs based model.
Exactly, but that's what it is. Yeah. You're just breaking up a bit there too.
Having said the NBN is has been fine, I've just got a notice saying my network is unstable.
Yeah, I've been getting a few of them too, as well.
But
look, Dave, we'll end it there. We
probably should wrap it up here.
Yeah, mate. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Always a pleasure, Steve. Always a pleasure. And we'll yell at some more clouds next time.